Buenos dias, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, I appreciate every one of you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to this video to help support the message. Gracias. Well, everyone, getting right into it. This one's going to circle around that old man from Venice and one of his soldados, the camarada pajaro from malditos. And this was back in the feds, right? But I had already left where I was at Osana. I had stopped though for a short time right there in Florence, Arizona, right? And it's where I met the camarada Pájaro. And we basically had a lot of tórica with one another because I had been busted with this homeboy, Shorty, right? Or Chaparro, Enano, whatever you want to call him. And he was a good homie. So, anyways, this is how we started talking. Again, in this pinta, there was two main pilis were the ones in charge, right? That are from MS, that are not out there like that, right? Or I haven't heard of them at least. And anyways, they were on their high horse. What I mean by that is they were freshly made and they wanted what was theirs. They weren't really allowing camaradas to make feria for no one else pretty much. But anyways, talking to Pajaro, it will come out that he was working for that old man, right, Rube from Venice, and that Rube basically had a carrot on a string type of thing in front of him, right, with a bunch of promises that in reality, well, I'm not gonna say Rube didn't keep him. He at least tried, right, to follow through with them, but he would get shut down a lot. And it's not because of his word didn't mean nothing or he didn't have no weight. It was just for a moment he just let loose, right? Everywhere he was at, he was trying to make everyone. And other carnales they start hating in the form of they know what individual that has Roof's antiquities doing, which is building his base, right? His boating system. Everyone he makes is gonna, of course, be under his wing. If he has a push or they have a push against him, he has gonna have a lot of individuals that are gonna vote for him, right, in his favor. But anyways, Pajaro was one of the individuals that was allowed to hit and do his thing. Of course, he was paying his respect, and I don't know if the Bealies from Mans did it because of who Rube was, right? And anyways, the homie was making good money, good money, and he was pretty much sharing it all with Rube. Basically, collect what was needed to fill up again. And whatever the winnings were, he was going down the middle straight with Rube, right? Even though it was his people, the camaradas jale, everything, right? He didn't have to do that. But anyways, like I said, Rube was that individual that liked to keep his soldados or his workers or the people underneath them, however you want to say it, with a bunch of promises, you know. I'm gonna make you, I'm gonna push to make you. I have this sold up, you know. If I put you up to be made, you're gonna get made. Just look at, and he would start throwing off a bunch of names, right? Like Lalo, like Badger, like a bunch of them that he would make, and some that he got put up that didn't get made, you know. But anyways, it's the way Rube was, and I think it was just part of his strategy to have the camaradas do what he wanted them to do, you know, to keep him relevant in the sense of, you know, the feds are big in this, and a lot of places you land, there's usually a pili there. There's more so, well, at least back then, you were gonna run across a pili being on the yard, right? And if you go by what you were supposed to do as a sureño, is basically get to a spot, put yourself in this position for whoever's there. If you hit, you bring in dope, you do it for the fulano that's there, not for someone outside the pinta, right? And basically keep that respect going. You know, even though they're carnales, is like I said it before, it was well known that carnal physically there is the one that had the rights to everything, anything that was happening there, period, right? But more so, Rube Okidoke, a lot of individuals like this, right? And again, it wasn't because he didn't keep his word. He at least tried, and he got shut down. It became an issue with him doing so, wanting to keep pushing carnales, and for a while the feds got so wild with that they were literally charging $1,500 for you to pay your way in the mafia. And exactly what I'm saying, you know, any individual could come, and with $1,500 you could pay your way in the mafia. You know, make that make sense when you have other homies that sacrificed many years, have done things to the core the right way, the long way, for someone to just come and be like, hey, here's 3 500 and make me a carnal. And they were being made. So, anyways, there was a shift and all that started being looked into, stopped. And why I'm saying this, I go back to Pajaro. You know, Pajaro was going way and beyond what he should have done or should be given room, right? It's one thing to give him a third of the winnings or just respects, because the homie could not escape from giving. one of the two Billy's on the yard, the one that was there longer, his respects too. But since he was being promised, of course, like the right. And anyways, a lot of things started happening with Rube. For example, all this came to flow. His age became a problem. And then, later on, the whole MS issue. You see, a lot of people don't really touch on the facts of what happened. Yes, they went in, they stomped Coco, they did their thing, the Rafla Nacional. And, but what really broke the camel's back with Rube was the two homies that MS took out. And the reason they took them out was because their target was Rube. They wanted to kill Rube, or at least get to him and whack him. And the homies made a shield, protecting Rube. And Rube couldn't do nothing at all. He couldn't defend himself, not even with the peas no more. And he was causing a lot of headaches in the sense of pushing his weight around the feds like he was it, right? And a lot of people respected him because of, again, his antiquity, right? Meant a lot. And that would eventually be the thing that said, nah, you know, try to get out. And once he did, it was, hey, ya estuvo. You're in retirement mode, which is good if you really think about it. Retirement mode ain't them putting you up on a shelf. But anyways, basically when this happened, a lot of good individuals fell. And that's what they don't speak about. They don't put it out in public, right? There was a lot of individuals that were there under the right reasons. That Rube was putting his arm around them, and there was individuals that didn't deserve to be there, but they were giving Rube some type of feria, right? And anyways, they had a who you could say, right? And it was all due to Rube. He wanted to clip a little bit here, there, and everywhere. And of course, it would all depend where you were at. What I mean is, from here, I would end up going to Eloy, Pajaro. He was from Zacatecas, and he knew I was coming out this way. And basically, he had me give something in Fresnillos, right? When I made it down here. And through that, you could say we stayed in touch, right? At least for a short while. And when everything happened with Rube, they figured, or they actually blamed Pájaro, holding back from the M, because the Pili from MS felt he was getting crumbs for what Pájaro was moving on the yard. And even though Pájaro tried to explain, hey, I'm sending Rube, it wasn't a problem when Rube was around. It became a problem when Rube was gone. I, that tecato mentality, they seen that opening to where, hey, I could clip this guy right here for more, or I could show off my power, or I could remove this individual that was under somebody with that much antiquity and climb up a step, in that dumb mentality that we all hold when we're there. Should never be like that. You thinking you're climbing a ladder by stepping on somebody that's riding with you in the same movement and same cause, right? But Pajaro explained himself. He even showed him appeals, and then that became a problem. Why he was holding on to him appeals, and even though to cover myself, and it would still look wrong. You know, you to get an appeal, you to answer in the back of it, or rip up or flush, not keep around for them to get caught. And basically, not to make this long, Pajaro would end up getting hit, and it was a checada. Basically, it was you're gonna get hit, stay in your cell, patch up, and then come back out to program. And nothing happened, right? You keep doing your thing. I'll make sure this time, whatever you bring in, you break mine off the way you're supposed to, right? So just imagine the feeling of a camarada. You're doing everything correct for a pili that's moving a carrot in front of you with promises, with a bunch of nonsense, right? And at the same time, you're throwing enemies. Ain't no pili ever. You might say, okay, you're touching base with my brother, that's all right, handle it. But in reality, they're gonna hold that grudge against you. Believe me, the moment something happens with that pili you're under, and you stay in their mercy, or you're out. Pájaro could have done what a soldado's supposed to do, right? Which is take it in the chin, right? Get, receive your couple stabbings, stay in the cell, patch up, heal up, and then come out. And it's a moment for you to decide, do I keep hitting? Do I break this fool off? Or I just stop hitting, period, right? I don't want no part of this no more. And unfortunately, when you have a bunch of time, is the easiest thing to do is just you want to stay in the game. You want your name there, but it wouldn't become that of this. Pajaro took the third and unspeakable way, which is to lock it up. Basically, tell, hey, look, they stabbed me. I need to get out of here. You know, that type of thing. Only weenies do. Excuse me, I say it like that, right? Even though Pajaro was cool at one point, only them individuals. I understand homies, they get pencil whip. They end up on that side because they got hit wrongly. They got moved on wrongly, and they're still good people. when you go and you tell the Judas, hey, look, I fear for my life. Get me out of here. And and get me out the back way, please. Because I'm scared they're going to spear me or they're going to hurt me or whatever. That's just straight coward stuff, you know? And, anyways, that's what would end up happening, with the vato. I ended up giving Isafita whatever I had to give her, right, on his behalf. Because again, he was a good individual that he got lied to, as many, many camaradas by Rube. And unfortunately, things played out like I said. Rube would end up getting that compassionate release. And the Emmett just told him chill. Because again, when they killed them two camaradas, not Emmett, camaradas, they were going after Rube. He was a target. And Rube had a piece on him. And he couldn't even defend himself with the piece. He just seen how they took out the camaradas, basically, defending him. And there's been a lot of people speaking out their name about a mess, or speaking out their neck, excuse me, about a mess. There is no such thing as MS with that 13. It's MS 13. Period. The only difference is the California faction and the Ranfla Nacional, but they're both MS-13. You know, just one stands for something, the next stands for something different. It's easy to speak about something because you hear somebody else speak about it and you don't have no knowledge on it. But anyways, the reason I'm deciding to put this out because it's messed up. At the end of the day, however the homie or the vato pajaro went out, right? It's messed up how he got played just to get feria. Yes, he got promised all that. You're not gonna have to put in blood work in blood ways. Just keep the holla coming, the feria coming, and I wanna make you. Let me just pull a couple pillies that are with me to make sure you get made. That never came. Instead, what came was another jealous pili that in order for you to stay on the yard amongst the good per se, you had to take any stab and keep pushing. Oh, but whatever you were making, he wanted it. You know, he wanted a third of everything. Hey, he didn't care on the you gotta make the feria to restock whatever. If you bring in a pedazo, you're gonna give me a whole third of the pedazo. The rest you deal with it on your own, right? It's just that tecato mentality. But more so, I wanted to touch on how the Hemet works. They're not even there for their own. One makes one think that they're gonna be solid with you as a camarada, as a homie. Look at Rube. Speaking about Rube, let's just speak about how he ended up in a wheelchair. in the corners with nobody to even push him, struggling, probably, not to speak ill because of his age or nothing like that. Even though you guys know how I feel about them, I still know with whom and whom it is. And I never had no crosses with Rube, at least in a bad way. And it's sad. He don't have nobody to push him. He don't have nobody to take him to the bathroom when he needs to. What happened to the antiquity? What happened to, you know, all that love you had for many, many carnales? All those you made. You got lost in the shuffle too. And it's sad. It's real sad to see how Rube would turn out just because of his age, and also how many people he took down with him. Because, a lot of carnales said that old man's loved by me, woo woo. But when push came to shove, they boogied, they shook, they left him alone, and they pressed against his workers. So that's the in is think about that. Someone that held this strong for the organization for so many years as Rube. Look how he ended up. Look where his carnales ended up leaving him at. Think about, are they going to hold compassion for you as a camarada? Again, if you're there, boogie. If you're not, think about it. You know, Stay true to yourself, loyal to loved ones.